Get in, buckle up, and come for a ride with the Hoonatics. Cars, bikes, and anything else with an engine in it. Let's go.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Hoonatics. Mark B. Boxer. How you going, brother?
I'm good. Good. We're back. This is number 10.
It is number 10.
We've cracked the double figures.
We have.
Yeah.
I can't believe we're still on the air and we're not on some boat off of Glenelg, doing a pirate signal and coming in accordingly.
All right, quickly. Last one when we were in here, we were talking about wearing stupid hats, and I thought maybe that's a bit dumb.
Stupid hats.
But I've come up with an alternative one for you. So if you say anything that's like beyond Jason's stupidness,
here we go.
You have to wear these for the rest of the podcast.
Oh, I'll just wear them anyway. Look at that. Like a boss, mate. Absolutely. No, thug life, aren't they?
The thug life glasses.
Yeah. Do I need a cigar? Is that good?
All right, take them off.
Actually, is that prescription? Are they prescription?
No.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah,
what have you been up to? What's been going down in Boxer Town?
Been working on projects, got my stupid drag car running, finished, photo shoot, street machine all done. Pretty happy with that. That's been a ball and chain around my ankle for a long time. And also just been working on other projects. Got the Land Cruiser project for HoonTV happening again now, which is good because it's been on hold for a while, being my daily. But, as we normally say, like I can see over there, you're wearing your Malala shirt. I'm going to just quickly talk about this shirt here.
Circa 2006, if you don't mind.
I'm going to have to just stand up just so you see. This one says...
Is my bike okay?
Yeah. So this is from my friend Greg Pennington over in North Carolina. He owns a bike shop called Motorary.
All right.
And these are his cool shirts. And my funny quick story about when I was in North Carolina was he kept saying how great all the roads are up in the mountains there, and I was like, oh yeah, they're good everywhere. Everyone says their roads are the best. So I went there, jumped on his Triumph Thruxton 900.
Yep.
Is that what he called it?
What's that?
Is that what he called it?
Yeah. That's our guest. He's in before he's in.
He beat me to the punch because I was going to say, did you get a cream for it afterwards?
So anyway, I've got the footage, which I'll put over the top of this. So I've gone for a nice ride up in the mountains. I'm like, holy crap, these roads are actually really good. And got to where I was going, turned around, got some gas, came out of the petrol station, sitting on about 90 miles an hour in the 55 zone, and the state trooper pulled me over. And in my thickest Aussie accent, I said g'day and handed him my Aussie license, and I got off, which was really good. So, I've got footage of that. I'll put that over the top here. It's quite funny.
Diplomatic immunity and then just driven off,
I wouldn't do it again, though.
A Snap-on franchise is a tool to your freedom, and we currently have franchise opportunities available across Australia. Snap-on have the best brands in the industry, a supportive network with exclusive training, as well as financing options to get you on the road. Are you ready to drive your own success? Visit snaponfranchises.com.au or call 1-800-762-766 for more information.
And we're back.
We are. And we've got our guest. I will let you introduce him this week. How does that sound?
Well, I've forgotten the spelling, but Nino de Montan, a.k.a. Martin Donnon.
Correct.
One of Australia's foremost tuners and someone who's been around a long time in the industry. We've all known him, seen stuff he's done, seen all the magazine stories he's done. Welcome to the Hoonatics.
Thank you, and thanks for having me here.
I had you down as Australian icon of the tuning industry. First privateer to bring EFI tuning capabilities and awareness to the masses through magazines of the analogue age.
That just means I'm old.
Yeah, exactly. That is.
I mean,
Hang on, I'll just rewrite. OLD.
Yeah. No, there's nothing great about that.
Well, I think it's fair to say that you were the first guy to say to a lot of very impressionable people, EFI cars are here and you can fettle with them. You can play with them.
Probably one of the first in Australia, but sometimes being the first isn't always the best. And I'll explain that later when we start talking. But yes, that is correct.
Well, we have a little bit of a soft spot for you because you're South Australian. And as you know, you're parochially South Australian. So are you, so am I.
I wasn't sure I was going with it for a second, but yeah.
Anybody who's a pioneer of anything to do with the automotive side of things, we always sort of go, yay, they're the best. So we've always looked at you like that.
Normally anyone that's a pioneer of anything in South Australia just moves out.
Yeah, correct. That is. Well, mate, where did it all start for you? Where did this start what was the car kickoff for?
Well, it wasn't a car, so Boxer were like this. It was a motorbike, and it was circa 1988.
Wow.
My father was a crazy car guy, bike guy, and he bought wasn't a tricolour, it was the first of the 851 superbike Ducatis. And there's a very, very, very clever man by the name of Dwayne Mitchell who lived in Apollo Bay.
Down
who ran a business called Fuel Injected Motorcycles, FIM, and he sold an upgraded EPROM for the 851 Ducatis. And my father bought one, and because I was a bit of an electronics guru who asked me to install it, and I promptly destroyed the ECU doing it. And never to start again, this brand new bike. And of course, like Ducati Adelaide, I forget who it was right back then. It was a long time ago in the late 80s. And
can I ask how old were you? How old were you at the time?
Oh, I would have been 3. No, I don't know. I would have been. I was 20 or something.
Okay.
I'm 50 now, so it was whatever that was. And yeah, so I had to employ the help of another friend of mine. I was a software guy. He was a hardware guy, and he goes, "Oh, you didn't put this insulator behind this transistor." Da, 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 da. Boom, and it went again.
Wow.
And the bike went better. And I think that was the key to the whole thing. And I thought, well, we can do this to a bike. And Dwayne was very, very smart. He was working for the World Superbike team at the time, writing their ROMs for the tricolour-based superbikes. And I thought, if he can do that for a Ducati out of Apollo Bay, surely I can do that for a VN out of Adelaide.
Yeah, right.
And that's basically how it started.
Well, I know one of the earliest connections I had with you was at a car show in the Bay. Yeah. When the Buffalo still was there, not the pile of rubble it is now, and
the pile of rubble then too.
Yeah, and it was I take you back to a certain white Honda Civic.
Yeah, well, that was only a tiny bit of what I did. That was like a cool car.
It was a street car at the time.
It was a street car at the time. I turned it into a race car, but that whole racing thing that I did back then was not really part of anything good we did. It was fun for me.
Was that early 90s?
That was 1992 or 3. But at that stage, we were already working through my company, Fueltronics, that started up after destroying that Ducati ECU.
Yeah.
We were already working for OEMs at that stage. We were working for Jaguar Rover Australia. We did some work for HSV at that point. So we were well above just doing hot
Is that
cars
because
at that point.
You were the only one in that space?
Well, we're the only one that wasn't just copying and pasting. We were just having some educated guesses and working things out and working it out. So back in those days, if you bought a Peugeot 405 MI16 or any dealer in Australia, it had to have our ROM put in it so it didn't detonate on the petrol we had.
Okay.
And so that were some really good times for us when we were involved.
Because I mean, we're talking back a period of time where nothing like what we have now in regards to technology and computer technology.
No, that is right. So it was, I did a lot of time as a cash register tech and changing ROMs in cash registers.
Now I know where the money came from. Now we know where the money's come from.
There was no money in it. Unfortunately, most of the pubs I worked for went broke doing that. But being able to just rip circuit boards apart and do crazy things was what you had to do back then, and very few people were prepared to do.
Yep.
So we did it, and then we caught the attention of people like HSV who we didn't do any of their mainstream Commodore stuff. We did the transmission control software in the HSV Jackaroo.
Okay.
Which was a Isuzu-based product.
That was an overseas product coming into us.
Yeah. So they didn't actually have the code for it. So we sort of messed around with that. We did the Jaguar XJ40, and we had some great little, really sideline manufacturer alliances along the way, which was kind of one of the things I'm most proud of my whole career in this part of it anyway, because anyone can make a car go fast for 10 seconds, 8 seconds, 7 seconds, but being able to have a product you can bring to market and make a staple of a manufacturer at OEM quality levels, that's something else.
And also back in a period of time where it was new tech.
Well, that's probably the only reason they used us. There's no one else able to do it.
Right guy, right time, right place.
Yeah, of course. And it was Adelaide at the time.
Yeah, and I mean, how many phone calls did you have to people where they said, so where are you based? Adelaide.
Look, that was never a problem until I went to, I think, Hong Kong to deal with a manufacturer that, I think, 10 times the size of Adelaide. And they were had to meet me there from Korea, and the guy in the restaurant said, "Where are you from?" And he could speak quite good English, and I said Australia, and he didn't know where Australia was. So I even drew it on the map, on the serviette, and he still didn't know where it was. But other than that, the acceptance of Australia, because Motec are from Australia, there was some really good AFI stuff coming out of Australia and really good tech stuff, and still is. There are some great companies here doing some great things, and we're like a very, very, very small part of the good that's going on in Australia, and we even were back then.
Yeah. Well, training-wise, Mark and I always talk to people about, where they cut their teeth and where they come from and so forth. And, you blew your dad's Ducati up. You made to fix it.
No, I just broke the computer. I didn't blow it up. I believe it still runs today.
It went kaput. Talk to us about some of your training, formal or informal influences, people you hang out with in those early formative years of understanding electronics and getting your head around bits and pieces. What did you do?
I'm matriculated, and I did my Maths 1 and my Maths 2, and I went on to start a Bachelor of Engineering at the levels, which is Uni SA now, I suppose. Yep. And I went on. I dropped out of that to earn money, and then I went back and did computing science there. And I always hacking this stuff is not about actually being an electronic engineer unless you're hands-on the circuit boards. Hacking it is seeing shapes, and it's more of an artistic thing in some ways, but you got to understand how to count. Everyone on the internet now says, I'm a hex tuner, but you ask them to count in hexadecimal, which is base 16, they wouldn't even know what you're talking about. But it's still about seeing patterns, seeing shapes, and recognizing them repeated time and time again. And a good example of this is when the R35 GDR first came out. I had a little bit to do with one of the first ones in Australia. I'm not claiming any credit for buying it. However, when I looked at the raw code in that, there was a very, very big semblance to a 1985 ET turbo pulsar.
Wow.
And so every manufacturer has their own flavour, and they expand upon it. So the maps are the same. And instead of being this big, they become this big.
Yep.
And there are more limiters and references and everything to them, but their flavour or their recipe for their software is still the same. The same goes on with Ford to this day. The same goes on with GM. And that is so you can have 30 or 40 software engineers or 50 or however many working for you at any time, and you can replace them and they can go back to the archives and still keep repeating the same stuff.
As their reference points.
Yeah. So you don't ever have to start again.
Are you like the Gordon Ramsay of Australian dyno tuning? Is that what you're saying to us?
No, because I don't swear.
Not in here, in this space.
Not at all. Not at all. But, so there are it's all about pattern recognition, understanding patterns and working with them and hoping you've made the right decision. Well, it was in the early days. Now because there's a lot of easier to use tools that are around.
What was like doing all that stuff over the years? Like you've obviously had a moment of clarity where you've just like discovered something. Tell us a story about being on a dyno or something like that where you've been and gone, holy crap, I've just discovered,
Yeah, I've just discovered fire, but not fire.
Tom, it can seem like Tom.
We've been like,
blowing a lot up on the dyno, which is a good thing. But dynos rarely blow cars up. People just think they do because they can hear noise and tyre noise, so they think it's extreme. It's just like having a strap down the road, So if it blows up on a dyno, it was going to blow up on the road. The biggest moment of clarity, I suppose, and this is just, it's weak in the Hoonatics scheme of things, would have been, it's a toss-up. It was either working out where the idle tables were for a Crane 286 camshaft in a VN 5 litre and making it idle without stalling, or I think making that Peugeot 405 MI16 stop rattling, because at the same time Subaru were bringing cars in that were just going brrr, bang. And
what's the emotion at that point in time as a tuner, as somebody who's gone through the process to get to that point and it works? Your numbers in it work. What's the process?
Geez, that's lucky.
Is that what it's like?
No, it's just gratifying, I suppose, because you spend, you don't.
Is there a fist pump? Is there a fist pump?
Nah, there was no fist pumping back then. That was before like Air 23 and Jordan or whatever was all around.
Inside? Is it inside?
Yeah, it was just, that's nice. We can do something with this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's interesting to hear because, I mean, we talk to people who are drifters and drag racers and they go, I finally ran the 899 and I need it. And
there's a lot of pride in that.
The
but
euphoria.
That's not what we were doing.
Okay.
We were doing stuff that would allow other people to let them run an 899 or whatever.
There's a great comment this week, Mark, where there was a car at Drag Week and it ran 599, right?
Yeah, that's amazing.
And the first comment out of the guy's mouth was, well, we can work with that. Let's go 580. That was his first comment. You know, is that where a tuner is at?
No, I think that's called being too cool for school. And you know what? If you just run that number, good on you. I mean, maybe you can redefine a whole new segment. But tuners aren't like that. But there are – okay, you got to split this into two things. There are tuners, and these are guys you take your car to and they'll tune your, XYZ that you bring them with certain cam in. And then there are guys you call calibrators. Calibrators are different. Calibrators work at OEM level. Calibrators only use Toughbook laptops. Calibrators think like factory guys. Yep. So there's guys that think like factory guys and there are guys that think like tuners. Now, if you look at some of the results you see on the internet, you can see the difference. There's nothing wrong with good tuners.
Yep.
I've trained many over the years and I've tried to be one over the years and I've tried to be a calibrator as well. But there's guys that look at the science of it and there's guys that look at the results of it, and they're two very different things.
It's funny because you mentioned about being an artist, right? And you mentioned the science word as well, and being married to a scientist and knowing many artists.
Well, you're a bullish artist. So,
yeah, correct. And look, right?
Box
and the flamboyance of discovery, right, and the expression of discovery, you must have gratification in discovering that.
You do, but you don't have to make a YouTube video about it. No. You're just happy and I suppose look at ways you can sell that on.
Well, I guess what you've just said though, that kind of, from the way I see it, that's say an engineer who hasn't had much hands-on experience on a car but knows everything about cars having an argument with a mechanic who's had 20 years experience on cars. Correct. And they both have different ways of going about it.
Correct.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hit you with a real left of field question right now. All right? Because you're a young guy. You're like, what, 28?
What's your favourite meal? No.
You're 28, however old you are. Where is the tuning industry going to be in 20 years?
Well, it depends what you mean by the tuning industry. It's not going to be like it is now. All of the stuff that you see as being current now with guys with their AMGs being tuned, stuff you see me put up, and I put it up recently, that will be like watching the run of a, 72 Barracuda.
Okay.
The stuff moves on, and the problem is people are very resistant to change, very resilient to change, and don't change well. I still have guys ring me and, God bless them, I'm not making any judgment here, and they say to me, look, I've got a new Commodore, what does it cost to tune it? And I say, well, what model is it? And they go, well, one of the injected ones. And, it turns out it's a VR. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with VRs. I've made a lot of money out of them over the years, so good on them. But people are resistant to change, and I see this all of the time. And the industry will not be anything like it is now in 20 years. All of the companies that were focusing on tuning Commodores are now just scrabbling for traction, looking for something else because
they haven't moved on.
Well, they're going to move on or they're going to die.
Yeah. So where are we I saw that picture you put up of the Tesla, the Roadster, that beautiful car. Are we going to be able to tune that?
Short answer is yes. The longer answer is not without challenges. I mean, these guys fly rockets, they're SpaceX, they can go to the moon, they're going to go to Mars, they're going to take passengers into deep space. So you kind of don't mess with the integrity of their software or how it works. They're very, very clever. People that, poo-poo Tesla and say they're this and they're that and, the Nissan Leaf's going to overrun them. I think
the world is flat.
Yeah, well, Tesla are going to reach 1 million delivered cars before, too long. And I think for what they are, a startup just shows the brilliance of what they are and with their new Plaid powertrain that's just been sniffed that today on the internet as we talk. It is just like put the Porsche Taycan in the weeds at by 20 seconds or something at the Nürburgring. They're clever operators, and they're not to be underestimated. I think that's a beauty of them. So yes, the whole industry is going to change, and the guys that are tuning Commodores now and think Commodores are going to be forever, they are, and enthusiasts are going to keep them, and they're going to be collectible, but you aren't going to feed your family out of them in this industry.
But you'd say, I mean, obviously Tesla aren't the only ones doing electric cars. They had a pretty decent head start.
Oh, for sure.
But, I mean, obviously now, like Goodwood Festival of Speed this year, the Volkswagen thing, that just...
That's a crazy piece of...
Yeah, everyone was blown away by that thing because people tend to can electric vehicles, Moto E, Formula E, at the Isle of Man. Every year I've been there, the Zero bikes come past.
And I saw that wonderful electric thing you were riding, Boxer. That's about to set the world on fire.
Well, from a commuter point of view, though, that's people who just want something that doesn't cost them anything.
Mark, I'm sorry to cut in on here, right? We talked about the education of people and people embracing change, okay? And everybody's got solar sitting on their roof charging up batteries around their houses and stuff like that, right? Okay, everyone's doing that. That's a real estate guy talking about that because that's now a selling feature on a house.
Of course it is.
Which 10 years ago, no one would have even considered. I guess if you thought objectively about this, if you were looking to bring the education of the electric vehicle, the Tesla brand and the brand out of the Goodwood Festival of Speed, they aren't necessarily doing it going, you're going to save money. They're doing it through shock and awe.
They're fast.
And they're fast.
Just shock and awe.
Simple.
It's a different type of marketing, isn't it?
Getting back to my question, though, so basically the principle of electric vehicle is battery, computer, motors. And that's how it all works. And then in your inputs and your outputs.
Yes.
So in the world of a billion hackers out there that are the next generation of Martin Donnons, but now working on the new tech, you think that there's going to be products that are going to come out like eBay spec products where people will be like, here, you can just plug this into the OBD port or whatever of your electric vehicle and start messing around with it?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. I think, and this is, one thing I've always been good at, I suppose, over the years is not so much tuning cars or building cars or anything like that. It's being able to see where the weaknesses are and address the weaknesses. And you have to. It's called zooming out. You got to look at the whole picture. Don't look at it too closely. Zoom out and have a look at the whole picture. And we have a strategy over the next 5 or 10 years. I'm in partnership with Mr. Tesla in Adelaide, and we call him Mr. Tesla. He has no affiliation, of course, to the company. So we'll just get that cleared. But, this will be our 12th Tesla. And this one we're going to make go fast. We'll make it go much faster than that one in Drag Week. Yep. And we won't do it by plugging eBay parts into it. And every single bit of this technology will be developed in South Australia and will be exported to the world. I'm doing nothing new. I'm just looking at the smart people out of what they've done in history with motor cars. There's nothing new or
he hasn't been looking at us. He hasn't done any research on us.
There is nothing new or sensational about me. I just looked at the people that have been new and sensational and have adopted some of their thought process and applied it.
Well, you're a man of many tuning talents,
Allegedly.
A range of different tools in your hand at any given point in time. What's your passion at the moment? What's your off-dyno passion right now?
I think my off-dyno passion is...
Did you like the way I framed that?
Off-dyno passion, yeah. I'm not,
so just a bit of fist pump and kudos for the Jeep Wrangler, by the way.
Yeah. And I think that's a very abstract counterculture thing to be doing. I had that in my backyard, so I used it. I think Wranglers are cool. They were good enough for
my son's getting one.
They were good enough for Charlie's Angels.
Yeah, my son's getting one. Me. His first car's going to be a Wrangler.
It's my wife had it.
He's already spotted yours.
I know Martin's off-dyno passion. It's been on Facebook for years.
Go on, what is it?
It's a Mount Lofty walks on the weekend.
Yeah, they are good.
If you're an Adelaide person, you know what that is.
Do you know, I went down.
You can't go up Mount Lofty without posting it on Facebook.
There's these steps.
Mount Lofty's horrible.
No, there's these steps on Mount Lofty. And I turned around and looked at them and I went, you know what?
Guys, can we talk about cars
No,
here?
hang on. Those steps are Martin Donnon paced steps.
Yeah.
You've cut your own path up there, mate. You've cut your own path.
I actually don't like Lofty because it gets too crowded and you got to elbow people out the way. I like more
secluded.
When
has that stopped you? When has that stopped you?
I like more like Wolf Creek style stuff,
So, anyway.
So with all this stuff, obviously you mentioned the Ducati before and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just like the rest of us, you are a car nerd. Otherwise, you wouldn't be doing this stuff.
Sure.
Rewind back
We did just
How old were you?
change subjects.
I know. Did you know
really,
they did that? Did you know they did that?
Anyway, keep going.
We're
How old was I?
good at that. How old were you? And what was your first car?
Oh, yeah, good question.
Actually, my mum just sent me a photo of it this week, actually, on Facebook. Goes, hello, Martin. Here's a picture of you and your first car. Oh, well, I was 16, and it was a 2-door Mark 1 Escort.
Oh, winner, chicken dinner. There you go. In your face, mini boy.
No,
and
nothing wrong with that.
Brother Paul, my oldest brother Paul, was a mad mini person who had many very fast Cooper S's, and he worked with Mark Tilbrook, who you may have heard of over the years, and they all used to run 14s at the drags back then, which is considered
mental in a mini,
incredible. Mark had a Moke, and my brother had a Cooper S Mark II. He had a Moke with a laid-back windscreen.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, Mark Tilbrook was a very, very big influence on me over the years, and he taught me some good things.
Good quiff of hair.
All-round good guy. Nothing bad to say about Mark.
He's a good boy.
And a very good perfectionist, which taught me a lot of traits that I still carry to this day.
Yeah, the thing I always liked about Mark was no matter where you were, where you'd see him, he was always really friendly.
Yeah,
nice dude. Yeah.
So come on, let's go back to my question.
Yeah.
You sit there and be quiet.
What was your question?
What's your passion right now? What are you doing right now?
My passion is I work with a few aftermarket companies around Australia, and I help them with, because I've got this, I'm obviously not that good at tuning, but I've got this vision thing going on, or this art thing going on. And I help them with their brands overseas, like giving their products names, helping them with their distribution. Like, for example, you may have heard of a company called Process West in Australia that make a lot of parts. Like they make everything is beautifully made, beautifully tested, and I really like that because, no one's ever going to look at you and say, well, that was shit. No, it's always good. And, like we come up with some nice names for their parts, like they're intercooler that sits on a 45-degree slope rather than flat. I named it Verticooler, which is great. It's verticooler. And the more budget level, straight bolt-on flat one that's everyone can have is a Carnicooler, because it's I can't probably mention his name, but that Jim Carner name was made famous. And So we do this, and I used to do this for other companies as well that I've worked for when we came out with their own DCT oil that I helped engineer and for Nissan GDRs, and that was very successful with the WR label on it that I came up with. And so I've always been good at naming things.
Is this creative side maybe a potential layover from the magazine days?
Possibly.
Yeah?
Possibly.
It's that like written prose type.
Yeah, it is. But, you just want things that catch your eye and are cool and describe what you're buying, and the very best example of it all was a windsurfer. It was never a windsurfer. That was a brand. It was a sailboard, and that is what I always try and achieve. And I'm doing that for a few companies now, both here and in America. So that keeps me fairly busy when I'm not on the dyno.
What's in the garage right now?
Well, there's a TJ Wrangler on the street.
Oh, I'm going to give you another high five. I love them.
And I'm really eyeing off a TO4E for that thing. I think at 220,000 Ks, it's barely running. I just disposed of an R35 GDR. I mean, I've been around them for a long time now, and they're an old platform. They're ready to go. They're 2007 first release, 2008 platform, and I've had one for a long time. We've done a lot of work with them, and I thought, it'd be nice to own a car that you can drive down the road and have some other things to worry about as to what was going to go wrong with. So my current car of choice is an AMG Mercedes, and it's an Edition 507, and that's only a 14 model or a 15 model, but that's the last of the normally aspirated Benzes, and I thought, to me, that was a good choice. 507 horsepower, normally aspirated, very limited production. Mercedes don't actually publish their production numbers, which makes it even more spooky, but I think one of those is something you can enjoy for a few years.
Absolutely.
And probably get back what you paid for. It ticks the boxes.
Yeah.
And I've got a Ferrari 456M, which I kind of like because it was Enzo's last car.
Yes.
And in the family, after my dad passed away, he left us quite a few cars, but I kept a GT500, 68, fastback, 428 thing, factory roll cage.
I'm starting to like Martin a little bit more than I did beforehand.
But, one thing, and when you guys talk about cars with people all the time, one thing you have to understand, and this is one thing my dad taught me, is that you never own cars. You might have paid for them. All you ever do is caretake them.
Custodian.
Yeah, all you ever do is look after them. Custodian. You never owned them.
Yeah.
And so he was a commercial artist and a sign writer, and like he always said to me, with these collectible sort of cars, or not your dailies, you spend 90% of your time looking at them. So make sure make sure they look good. Don't buy ugly cars.
All right, here's an alternative question that, Mark, you're going to have to answer as well. All right, I'm just going to put it on the table. I'm born in 1973. Okay?
Good for you.
So if I was going to choose a car from 73 that I would have now retrospectively, it'd be obviously a HQ Holden. My mum had one growing up. I sat in the seat of it. I'd have a HQ. What year were you born in?
68. Very end of 68. So
all right,
50.
well, you got a bit to choose from, so have a think. What year were you born in?
77.
70. He's a whippersnapper. So from that year, what would you have?
I got a 68 GT500.
So that's what you'd have?
No, I'd probably have a bus ticket. No, seriously, I'm not a great fan of old cars. I mean, I love them. I love looking at them, but I don't like driving them.
Nothing from the European Rangers?
Nah, not really.
No.
I like driving new cars, not old cars.
Okay, well, you got your Mustang, so that's good. What were your 77? What would you have?
I almost, year of the Tirana. That's a
UC Sunbird.
Yeah.
No,
that's the Australian horoscope.
Is it G-Pack? Is that a G-Pack? Right?
No. A UC Sunbird 4-cylinder.
I almost bought the 77 car years ago.
Yeah.
And at the time I was like, I don't want to spend 30 grand on a car. That was back when 33 GTRs and stuff like that, and people were spending 30 grand on a GDS-T.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. But back then I almost bought a 77 911.
Ooh.
And I was like, I always loved it. It wasn't a Targa because I don't like Targas. It had RSCS wheels on it. It was from Enzo's around the corner here. And I was like, the girls
I've owned
this.
about 15 of them.
Yeah.
And I kind of wish I'd bought it now because I would have sold it and paid off my house.
No, they're not that good. I've owned about 15 of them and sold them and bought them and sold them, made good money, turbos, and I had a 75. And they're just horrific things to drive. You'd rather get out and walk.
They're not it's
and
just a passion
Jeff
thing.
Tartuzzi on here, I know he loves his.
But Porsches, you know what? He just looks at his. He doesn't drive it.
He followed what the dad said.
It's a chop top stretch Volkswagen.
Well,
horrible.
If we went to coffee and cars with a Mustang and a HQ and a 911, we'd be cool looking cats. We'd be pretty cool. Now, you and I go back a long way. We've got a lot of different
I remember
stories.
you with a Suzuki Swift.
Yeah. No. Well, I had a few things before that. That I won't even talk to you about, right? We experienced drifting together at Wingfield that night. The two of us at the same time we saw it for the first time. Do you remember that?
Was that in the
You and I
I kind of remember.
You looked at me and I looked at you and I said, "What are you doing here?" And you said,
I was taking photos.
I've been told to come here for some reason. And then the first car came around the corner and I looked at you and you looked at me and we went, "Yeah, that wasn't too bad." And that was the start. But
then, the second car came around the corner and it was like, wow, that dickhead hit the gutter.
Yeah, I remember that as well. But our stories and our time together goes back a long way.
Sure,
and we've done everything from car shows to summer nats to this, that and the other. But I want to start to end this session by opening up to you and saying you've had some incredible experiences with dynos and tuning.
Yeah, sure.
All around the world, not just Adelaide.
Yeah.
Can you just maybe pick an exciting one where something crazy happened with either a lot of people or no one around, where it just was beyond expectations, whether someone gave you a car at a dyno show or you were a part of something? Can you regale us with a story?
Not really, because part of your craft is knowing relatively what's going to happen, within certain bounds when you get on the dyno. I think... And this sounds pretty corny. Some of the best dyno experiences I've had have been at, in terms of exciting, that excited me or challenged me or whatever, have been at, in the old days, there were these things in the 90s or early 2000s called the Holden versus Ford shows.
Oh, yeah.
And there was, probably the greatest operator in the Australian aftermarket of all time, and I don't think anyone's come close to his level yet, was a guy by the name of Peter Luxon who ran a company called APS. He was out there, but his operation was impeccable, and he was sort of playing with interceptor stuff, and it was nowhere near the flash tuning stuff of the time. But he used to make sort of fire out of stuff that shouldn't have had fire, and back in those days there was a camaraderie to it, and it was great, and there was no social media, so anything that was said got said at the time, and there was no bullshit afterwards, like you see now on Facebook or whatever. And it was great. And there were no Chinese parts around back then either, which is even better.
Yep.
You know, so yeah, I think the Holden and Ford shows were great. Other than that, you know, you put a big R35 on the dyno, you expect 12 to 1500 horsepower, and if it makes 800, then you go, wow, you know, like, wow, how am I going to justify this?
Well, fast forward to now, because obviously you've gone into a new business venture,
Yes.
And with a friend of ours as well, John Munro.
Yeah.
He's a very good businessman / car nerd.
Yes.
And
Look at
has
his last name.
very,
I mean, look at his last name. He was destined to go into the car game, wasn't he?
no relation to Burt Munro, but yeah, a very impressive collection of cars between him and his brother and his family, and a really eclectic
Absolutely.
collection. So tell us a bit about what you guys are doing and you know what the goal is with that business.
Yeah, okay. We have like a 10-year plan. I've known John from back in the 90s. I had a hiatus since then where I've done some other work and I've been involved in some other companies. John got together with me when he knew I was basically considering retirement and said, mate, you're 50, grow up, give us another 10 years.
45 plus GST.
And let's do something together. And you know, we've got a massive facility out there. I'm partners with him in the business. We have a massive facility of 30,000 odd square meters. We're building we have two different shops out there now that we use as Powertech Tuning, but we're building a third one, which will be quite unparalleled, you know, in this state at least. And our whole emphasis is to do quality work for people, but more than that, to use my focus to develop some product to help his passion expand to an international market. And I believe in the next 10 years we will be doing some fairly significant things together. And, you know, we're both heading in the same direction. He's younger than me. It's the first time I've ever had a partner that's younger than me. And, he cracks a whip and he drives me hard. And you know what? That's the beautiful thing about him.
He back in the day in the 90s, my early recollection of him was just one pseudonym, which was GTR. He was just GTR.
Yeah.
Man. And I know you love the fast GTR stuff, don't you?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
You know? And you've got a bit of a kindred spirit with him from back then that's sort of transitioned to now. Is he still the GTR guy?
Well, yeah. John was the fastest GTR in the Southern Hemisphere for about 32 minutes at one stage at the 4.6 and Rotary Nats in 2004.
You know what? We were all there.
But then he did go head-to-head with the King at the time after he got knocked off, and he blew him away then. But John is not driven by ego. He enjoyed it. He loved it. He didn't mind getting beaten. And he still has that GTR today, which he uses as a circuit car, and he has the best probably R35 in Australia, I think, because it's a genuine, beautiful road car, uses all quality parts. It's 4.4 litre, billet block, and it's a limited edition gold thing they only made, I think, 50 of in the world, and it's beautiful. So, yeah, he's still Mr. GTR pretty much. And he's Mr. Plug-in Tesla as well. He's Mr. Tesla.
Well, I drive past the facility out there, and all I see is the Chev trucks and the Dodge trucks and all these big American trucks. And I just sit there and drool.
We got
fills
probably
the
15 new trucks.
It just fills the footwheels. My parents are big caravanners. They've just gotten out. They've just aged out, as we call it. And I know that's a weird adjunct in this podcast.
Yes.
But, you know, as a tech guy and as a guy who can appreciate tech in whatever form, when I talk caravans and stuff, they are just crazy now, aren't they?
Well, not so much the caravans are, but I don't have much to do with them. The motorhomes, because they're all based on Mercedes Sprinters or VW Crafters, and you get into a decent wind with them with the thing hanging over the front. You go up the freeway and you're doing 80, it's like no good. So we tune them, and on part of the contract now, when you buy them at Camper Agent RV Centre, you can tick the box for a tune, and we give them an extra 150 NM. And instead of doing 80 up that hill, our famous hill, they'll do 100, 110.
That's
and
cool.
They'll get better economy for it. So, you know, I'm taking one away this weekend to Robe, and I'll be tuning it.
But the comfort level inside is crazy.
Yeah, it's good stuff, you know.
You know, it's almost like going and staying in a hotel in town. You open up the back, and it's like, I'll stay here.
For sure, you know, and but that doesn't take away from our basic passion for cars. Like, for example, Daniel, John's brother, who's also a crazy car guy, he's got a Radical SR8, which he's done a minute 5.0 around Malalarin. He's just traded a Lotus Exige a caravan. It was on a motorhome actually, and we cleaned it up, and he took it up the bender. Normally aspirated 1.8, and he drove it around all day on Monday, and did a 2-minute 18 in it, which I thought was actually quite crazy for something with about 90 kilowatts at the wheels. But yeah, so passion is good. And these guys have the combination of the passion and the brains without the egos. So that's why we're a perfect sort of partnership.
Yeah, right. That's good. It's very interesting to peel apart the onion layers of your brain and peer inside.
Yeah, just not too many layers, mate.
To save you having to cough up all the info about the business, we'll put that below in the thing so people can click on the links.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
But as a final kind of question, what was the last thing you tuned?
Last thing I tuned, that was today, I reckon.
Hopefully it's impressive. We want to end on a high.
No, it was not impressive.
What was it?
Not impressive.
No.
Are we talking about a completed tune or something that just pissed me off?
An improved tune.
An improved tune. Now let me think. It was.
Don't lie to us. We'll ring.
No. It was a 2012 W204 C63 AMG.
Right.
And that was yesterday. So I made Gareth do all the tuning today. And there were a couple of aborted ones because one, I don't know why he did it, but he booked in a drift car and a T56 in it. The fifth gear synchro made porridge out of itself, just all by itself on cruise. But it was a C63, and I don't mind tuning them. They're nice, and they're not easy, but they're nice.
Is that level of comfort an indication of you starting to embrace middle age?
No, it's just I had a guy come in today. It was quite funny, and he wanted a car tuned, and he goes, "Martin, is that you?" And I said, "Yes."
Is that you?
Yes, it is me. And he goes, I shouldn't be telling you this, but it's on air. And he goes, "Last time I saw you was about 8 years ago, but you tuned 8 of my cars." And I thought, "Oh, yeah, I remember who you are. You had an FG and a VU and Cayenne diesel and stuff." No, yeah. And he goes, "Geez, you look good now." And I said, "Oh, I'm not that great." And he goes, "Last time I saw you, you looked like an angry mud crab."
Martin the mud crab.
Yeah,
that actually sticks. Be careful, that sticks.
I don't care. There are worse things to be called.
Well, everybody needs a nickname. So when I see you now, I'm going to go, "Mud crab."
Yeah, that's good.
And you're going to go, "Dickhead."
Hey, I wish I was worth as much per kilo.
Well, it's been awesome having you in here, and really thank you for coming through and having a chat. It's very rare to get somebody who has tripped the light fantastic for so long in the tuning industry and
is still alive. Yeah,
yeah, but the transition from analog to digital, and not many of us have experienced
and to electric now.
Yeah, it's cool. I'm looking forward to when we have our 100th podcast of the Hoonatics, getting you back. Right, and discussing how you've just tuned something.
Or you can come down and do one from side. Just make sure you're
that from my ward at Glenside.
Just make sure you're wearing rubber boots and you don't touch anything. You'll be right.
Mark won't be with us. He'll be overgrown by hair by that stage.
Mark will be swanning around somewhere in some bike shop in LA.
As you do.
It's been awesome. Any final questions from you, compadre?
Well, not so much questions. I just think, like a lot of our podcasts, we've got people with a million layers to them. And Martin, we could have talked about the millions of magazine stories you've written and all that sort of stuff. But it's been a real pleasure having you in. It's cool to know what you're. And there was some stuff in there. I mean, obviously, Jason and I have known you for a long time, but stuff about how you got started, the Ducati, all that was totally cool. So it was really nice to have you in.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Pleasure.
It's a cut.
Get in, buckle up, and come for a ride with the Hoonatics. Cars, bikes, and anything else with an engine in it. Let's go.